For most of human existence, approval was not emotional decoration. It was survival infrastructure. If your tribe valued you, you ate. You slept near the fire. You had protection, connection, and a role. If your tribe rejected you, you faced the dark alone. No food, no shelter, no backup, no second chance. And somehow, that same ancient brain is now sitting in a bedroom, refreshing a phone, trying to figure out why one person has not texted back. That is not vanity, that is 200,000 years of survival wiring trapped inside a notification system. Validation is not just wanting compliments. That is the surface-level version. The polite version. The version people use when they want to make approval-seeking sound shallow, needy, or embarrassing. Validation is the desperate need to have your existence confirmed from the outside. It is the feeling that you are not fully real until someone reacts. That your work is not good until someone praises it. That your personality is not acceptable until the room relaxes around you. That your worth is not secure until another nervous system gives yours permission to calm down. And this is not rare. 49% of adults self-identify as people-pleasers, and 93% of Americans admit they engage in people-pleasing at least somewhat often. This is not a personality quirk. This is a mass human operating system. Once, your brain looked for belonging around a fire. Now it looks for belonging in faces, inboxes, performance reviews, group chats, romantic silences, and numbers under a post. Different century. Same question. Do they still want me here? And right now, even while watching this, you can probably feel the system if you look closely enough. Think of one person whose opinion still controls your body. One person whose disapproval can shrink you. One person whose praise makes you feel taller for the rest of the day. That person is not just a person. To your nervous system. They are a gatekeeper to belonging. You were told this was weakness. It is not. It is your brain trying, clumsily and dramatically, to keep you alive in a world where rejection rarely kills you anymore, but still feels like it might. 200,000 years ago, a human alone was not an independent lifestyle brand. A human alone was lunch. The animals were faster. The weather was stronger. The night was bigger. Survival depended on the group, and the group depended on constant social monitoring. Who trusts me? Who needs me? Who is angry? Who is withdrawing? Who might push me out? This is where validation begins. Not in insecurity. In exile prevention. Marc Leary's Sociometer Theory makes this brutally simple. Self-esteem is not the main event. It is a gauge. A dashboard needle measuring how accepted, valued, and included you feel. So when your self-esteem drops after rejection, your brain is not randomly attacking you. It is sounding an alarm. Basically, your brain installed a tribal warning system, then forgot to uninstall it before inventing Instagram, office politics, and read receipts. Excellent engineering. Horrible update schedule. This is why one cold reply can ruin your morning. Not because the reply matters that much. Not because the person is necessarily that important. But because your sociometer sees distance and translates it as danger. A period instead of an exclamation point. A message seen, but not answered. A joke that does not land. Your adult mind says, this is probably nothing. Your ancient brain says, pack your things. The tribe has turned. The tribal brain did not disappear. It just lost the fire. Now it scans modern rooms for ancient signals, trying to find belonging in places too unstable to provide it. Evolution installs the hardware. Childhood installs the software. The specific way you seek validation, pleasing, performing, fixing, disappearing, overachieving, becoming the funny one, becoming the useful one, becoming the child who needs nothing is usually learned early, especially in homes where love is not openly cruel, but conditional. Conditional love rarely announces itself. It does not always say, you are only acceptable if you perform. Sometimes it says, why can't you be more mature? Sometimes it says, don't upset your father. Sometimes it says, you're such an old soul. When what it really means is, thank you for not having age-appropriate needs. The child learns the equation quickly. If I am easy, I am safe. If I am useful, I am loved. If I become what they need, maybe they will not leave. This is where the Fawn Response enters. Pete Walker describes fawning as a trauma response, not fighting, not fleeing, not freezing, but appeasing. Stephen Porges' Polyvagal Theory helps explain why the nervous system may choose submission when the threat is also the attachment figure. And that is the terrible logic of childhood. When the person frightening you is also the person you need to survive, escape is not an option, so you become pleasing. If you over-explain every boundary, apologize before asking for anything, feel guilty when someone else is disappointed, or immediately scan a room to figure out who needs managing, that may not be kindness. It may be an old survival strategy, still wearing the costume of niceness. Every people-pleasing yes that should have been no, every apology you gave to prevent discomfort, every opinion you swallowed to stay acceptable, every version of yourself you abandoned to keep a relationship calm, they all had the same hidden logic. If I can get them to approve of me, I will finally feel safe. But the safety never lasts, because the strategy requires self-abandonment, and there is no approval powerful enough to make self-abandonment feel like belonging. Even the tribe could not solve that part. A tribe can give you a place, it cannot give you a self. So the full picture is bigger than you want people to like you. You inherited a brain that fears exile. You may have grown up in a home where love had conditions. Your nervous system learned approval as pain relief. Your culture turned belonging into metrics. Your relationships repeated the pattern. Your work rewarded it. Your phone monetized it. And your inner life absorbed the cost. This is why the answer cannot be as simple as stop caring. You will care. You are human. A completely validation-free person is not enlightened. They are either fictional, dissociated, or extremely unpleasant at dinner. The goal is not to remove the need for approval. The goal is to stop worshiping it. I am not going to tell you that you can become immune to validation. You cannot. But you can learn to recognize the pull, the little internal leaning toward performance, the urge to soften the truth, the panic when someone is disappointed, the sudden need to explain yourself to a person who has not earned that access. And in that tiny moment, before you obey the old program, you can name it. There it is. The tribe alarm. Not truth. Not destiny. Not identity. Just a very old survival system trying to protect you with outdated information. You were built for a small circle of people around a fire. People who knew your face, your work, your wounds, your usefulness, your stories. People whose approval was not abstract because belonging was not abstract. It was visible. Embodied. Mutual. Now you live in a world where strangers can judge you without knowing you. Partners can trigger abandonment with silence. Bosses can become parental ghosts, and a glowing rectangle can convince your ancient brain that your worth rose or fell by 3%. The brain by the fire is still here, still scanning, still asking the oldest question. Do they need me? Am I safe? Do I belong? The paradox of validation is that you chase it to feel like yourself, but the chase slowly teaches you to become whatever gets approved. And that is not belonging. That is disappearance with applause. Validation was never about being liked, it was about being safe, and you have been trying to find safety in the most unstable place possible, other people's opinions. At work, validation seeking disguises itself as ambition. The late nights, the perfectionism, the inability to say no, the tiny panic when a supervisor says, "Can we talk?" The email rewritten 5 times, so it sounds grateful, harmless, deferential, and spiritually boneless. Everyone calls this being reliable. Sometimes it is fear with a calendar invite. Aaron T. Beck's concept of sociotropy describes a personality vulnerability where a person's self-worth depends heavily on acceptance, approval, and relational security. Highly sociotropic people are especially vulnerable to depressive episodes after rejection or interpersonal conflict. So if work praise makes you feel alive, and work criticism makes you feel like you might disappear, the job may not just be a job. It may be your current courtroom, and every project is another attempt to prove you deserve to stay. Online, validation becomes quantified. That is what makes it so addictive. In real life, approval is ambiguous. Someone smiles, someone laughs, someone says good job, and you interpret tone, timing, sincerity. Online, the system gives you numbers, a visible ranking of how much attention you earned today. And the statistics around people-pleasing show how ready the human brain is for this trap, 71% of people go to great lengths to avoid conflict very or somewhat often, and 52% report feeling like they cannot say no when asked for something. Social media did not create the approval wound. It industrialized it. It took the ancient fear of not belonging and gave it analytics. But the deepest damage is internal. Because if your worth depends on external approval, you do not develop a stable self. You develop a responsive self. A self that changes shape depending on who is watching. A self that becomes agreeable around the dominant person, impressive around the successful person, helpless around the rescuer, invisible around the angry person, funny around the uncomfortable person. This is pathological sociotropy at its most intimate, the self becoming externally referenced. Not who am I, but who do I need to be so you will not leave? And this is why being alone can feel strangely empty, not peaceful, empty, because when nobody is reacting, there is no mirror. And when there is no mirror, the approval-built self starts to flicker. The question underneath is terrifying. Who am I when nobody is validating the performance? The tribe used to give you a role. Now you perform roles for people who may not even know the real you exists. And now we reach the cruel center of the whole machine. The more you seek validation, the less it works. Because every time you run outside yourself to feel worthy, you teach your brain where worth lives. Out there. In their reply, their praise, their attraction, their approval, their applause, their softened facial expression, their decision to not abandon you today. So even when validation arrives, it does not heal the wound. It confirms the system. It tells the brain, correct, you were unsafe until they approved of you. That is why the relief fades so quickly. You get the compliment. You feel warm for 10 seconds. Then the doubt returns. Because the source of worth was never installed inside you. It was rented from someone else. The tragedy is not that validation feels good. It is supposed to feel good. The tragedy is when it becomes the only way you can feel real. This is why toxic approval is so powerful. Consistent love can feel invisible to a brain trained on unpredictability. But inconsistent love feels electric. It creates longing, tension, obsession, and then relief. A healthy person says, I care about you. A dysregulated brain says, fine. A withholding person disappears for 3 days, and then says, I miss you. And the nervous system throws a parade. Some people will call this low self-esteem. That is incomplete. Low self-esteem may be the dashboard reading, but the engine underneath is conditioning, intermittent reinforcement, social pain, childhood software, a sociometer that became too sensitive and never learned how to rest. If approval only feels powerful when you had to suffer for it, that is not romance. That is your nervous system confusing relief with love. The validation you chase to feel secure becomes the proof that you are not secure without it. Inside the brain, validation is not poetic. It is chemical. When someone approves of you, praises you, includes you, or signals that you matter, the reward system activates especially areas like the ventral striatum and nucleus accumbens. Dopamine moves through the mesolimbic pathway, telling the brain, that mattered. Do it again. Approval becomes reinforcing. Rejection becomes threat. In the Cyberball Exclusion Experiment, people believed they were playing a simple virtual ball-tossing game with others. Then the others stopped throwing them the ball. Nothing physical happened. Nobody insulted them. Nobody touched them. But their brains reacted. The dorsal anterior cingulate cortex and anterior insula regions involved in the distress of physical pain became active during exclusion. Social rejection did not feel like pain because people were dramatic. It felt like pain because the brain processed it through pain-related circuitry. And in acetaminophen research, taking Tylenol over several weeks reduced activity in those pain centers during social exclusion tasks. So yes, in the strangest, bleakest way possible, hurt feelings were neurologically close enough to pain that a painkiller changed the signal. This is why just stop caring what people think is such spectacularly useless advice. That is like telling someone with a smoke alarm to stop noticing smoke. Your nervous system is not asking for a motivational quote. It is detecting possible social injury and flooding your body with urgency. Chest tightness, nausea, heat in the face, Rumination, the desperate need to repair something that may not even be broken. You are not weak for feeling rejection physically. You are carrying a brain that treats social wounds like survival events. Then, modern culture found the button. For most of human life, validation came from people who knew you, people who watched your behavior over time, people whose approval had context. Then, social media turned approval into numbers. Likes, views, shares, followers, comments, ratios. Your tribal brain finally got a scoreboard. And it was a disaster. Intermittent reinforcement is the trap. BF. Skinner showed that unpredictable rewards are more powerful than predictable ones, and modern dopaminergic theory explains why. The brain responds intensely to reward prediction error, the gap between what you expect and what you get. A post that always fails is easy to abandon. A post that sometimes explodes and sometimes disappears becomes a casino. Your ancestors looked for approval and eye contact around a fire. You look for it in a rectangle that randomly decides whether today you are visible. Same hunger, worse delivery system, and the brain changes behavior around that scoreboard. In an fMRI study simulating Instagram, adolescents were more likely to like risky photos when those photos already had many likes. Even more disturbing, viewing highly liked risky images decreased activation in the brain's cognitive control network. Translation: when the tribe approves, judgment gets quieter. Your brain sees a crowd clapping for something stupid and says finally, a committee. This is why you can know a post is meaningless and still check it 10 times. You are not checking the post. You are checking your position in the tribe. In relationships, validation seeking becomes especially dangerous because the harder someone is to please, the more valuable their approval feels. A stable person's love may feel too easy, but a cold person's warmth feels like winning. This is how people get trapped in toxic relationships and call it chemistry. The hot and cold partner creates intermittent reinforcement. Withdrawal creates panic. Affection creates relief. The nervous system starts chasing the relief, not the person. That is the same basic reinforcement logic that keeps a gambler at a broken slot machine. Not love. Variable reward. If you have ever waited all day for one crumb of affection from someone who treated you badly, you already know this loop. The silence hurt. Then the message came. And instead of thinking, this is unhealthy, your brain thought, there it is. The payout.